Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jole Gabrielle here from Elevated Planet, and we'd like to welcome you to today's show, where we're diving deeper into Yahshua the Messiah, and John is going to tell us more about it.
Yes, we've got a multifaceted show today with a little bit of Alan Watts' wisdom, which very much aligns with Yeshua, Ben Joseph, or Jesus, whichever you prefer. And we started with part one last week for the Yeshua piece, and we will be doing part two this week. We will also be including part one with that at the outset. So you will have the opportunity to skip forward if you don't want to see that again. But for our part, we always want to see part one to match with part two. And if you didn't see it last week anyway, then there's an opportunity there to see it all for the first time. So there's some pretty deep messages there, and it's what I love about it is this all leads to a liberation. Okay, it takes us away from the stresses of life. Once you start to understand the nature of what's going on and why we are here, then we cease to be concerned about the world outside of ourselves, and we start to come back to where our seat of power really is, which is here. It's an inside job and in the heart. Out of the duality of the mind, that's where we're heading, into the unity of the heart, which is Christ consciousness, of course. So yeah, that's where we're heading. What do you think, Jole? Do you want to add anything before we leap into Alan's piece?
No, I think you summed it up nicely, John. All I want to say is, like John said, it's really about internal development. And when you were talking, John, I thought about it as like renovating a home. You may see someone's house, you may think, oh, it's so beautiful, whatever. But if you have a home to take the time to renovate and care for it on the inside, just like same kind of concept. I kind of think like that. So I hope that helped. But
Yeah.
it's okay for other people to have a beautiful home. You can do your own home as well. It's the same thing. Yasha was out there with amazing gifts and blessings, but guess what? So are you.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the thing that it keeps coming back to, isn't it? Again, it's the Yeshua who says that, if you want to regard him as the Son of God, you also have to understand that you too are sons and daughters of God by the
Yes,
same level. And that's the thing that he keeps saying time and again. He is not above. He is on a parallel course with us, just more advanced
exactly.
from a spiritual perspective. But yeah, that's the joy of it, which is very
Yes.
much not the case in the Bible and not the case in religion, but this is where we're heading. Let's move on to Alan and listen to some words of wisdom from him, and then we'll be back for some more comments. So bear with me a second.
You know, it's a curious thing that human beings seem to take everything so terribly seriously. We rise in the morning as though the universe itself were waiting for our report, as if some celestial office requires us to fill out forms of purpose and progress. We have this overwhelming sense that what we do matters, that each gesture, each decision must ripple through eternity in exactly the right way. Yet, if you step back for a moment, if you zoom out beyond the daily scramble of appointments and ambitions, you begin to see a rather comic picture. The galaxies swirl for billions of years, stars are born and die, whole civilizations come and go like flickering candles, and here we are. It's as though the universe were engaged in the grandest of dramas, and we're playing our parts with such grim conviction that we've forgotten it's a play. This is what I call the great pretending. The cosmic game in which each of us, for reasons quite mysterious, chooses to act as if things truly matter. We fight, we strive, we suffer, and we love. And underneath it all lies an unspoken assumption that there's something to win, something to lose, some scoreboard in the sky, keeping tally of our importance. But look a little closer. What exactly does it mean for something to matter? To whom must it matter? Does the sun care whether you succeeded in business today? Do the tides pause in sympathy when your heart is broken? No. The cosmos rolls on, magnificent and indifferent. And perhaps it's not cruelty, it may be mercy. For if the universe insisted on taking our concerns as seriously as we do, it would go mad within a moment. You see, we live within layers of seriousness. Society teaches us from childhood that the responsible person is one who worries properly. You must plan your future, choose your career, find your meaning, defend your opinions. To act otherwise, to live lightly, is branded as careless, even immoral. You must take life seriously, they say. But I ask you, why? Who decreed that seriousness is a virtue? The child does not begin in seriousness. The child plays. The universe itself, if you look at it honestly, is playful. Stars explode in fireworks. Planets spin in effortless dance. Clouds chase each other across the sky. Life does not proceed by rulebook, it improvises. Yet we, peculiar creatures, insist on freezing this spontaneity into rigid lines. This matters, that doesn't. This is right, that is wrong. We take the flowing river of existence and try to bottle it, to label it, to grade its performance. And then, of course, we suffer. Because the moment you divide life into what matters and what does not, you create tension. You invent failure. You invent guilt. You invent the nagging voice that says you could be doing more, being better, achieving higher. And so you spend your days running faster on the wheel, chasing a seriousness that was never real to begin with. Imagine, instead, that the whole thing, the struggle, the striving, the solemnity is part of the play. Imagine that behind the facade of importance, life is laughing softly at its own performance. What if God, or whatever you wish to call the deep intelligence of being, is not a judge sitting on high, but a musician improvising an endless melody? Wouldn't it make sense, then, that we are meant not to march, but to dance? When you begin to glimpse this, you realize that acting as if nothing matters is not nihilism, it's clarity. It's seeing that our seriousness is self-inflicted, that the meaning we chase is already present in the very act of living. To act as if nothing matters is to play wholeheartedly, knowing there's nothing ultimately at stake. So, the question arises, if you truly accepted that nothing mattered in the grand cosmic sense, how would you live? Would you collapse into despair? Or would you laugh deeply, freely at the miracle of it all? For maybe the divine trick of existence is that only when you stop clinging to significance does life reveal its genuine significance. That is the beginning of freedom, to see through the great pretending and recognize that the play was never meant to be taken so damn seriously. You see, our seriousness is not a sign of wisdom, it is a symptom of forgetfulness. We have forgotten that the whole show is spontaneous. Nobody started it. Nobody's running it. It's just happening. When you take things too seriously, you shrink the universe down to the size of your personal drama. The mind becomes a little echo chamber, endlessly repeating, what should I do? How should I live? What if I fail? And all the while, the trees grow without asking permission. The rivers flow without consulting a plan. And the stars burn joyfully with no one to impress. To see this clearly is to begin laughing, not a mocking laugh, but a liberating one. You laugh because you realize that all your worries were self-created theater. You've been standing on the stage so long you forgot it was a stage. You mistook the costume for the skin, the act for the essence. Now, that doesn't mean we should abandon our responsibilities or become indifferent to others. Far from it. It means we should handle our responsibilities with the grace of a dancer, not the stiffness of a soldier. To care deeply and yet lightly, that is the art. You can love fully without taking your love as a test of worth. You can work diligently without turning your work into a cross to bear. The sage acts as though nothing matters, precisely because he knows that everything does in its own unforced way. The tree doesn't try to be significant. The bird doesn't struggle to justify its song. Yet both are perfect expressions of the universe at play. We humans, though, have developed a peculiar arrogance. We imagine that cosmic importance must be earned, as if existence is a contest judged by some celestial panel. So we burden ourselves with constant seriousness, thinking it makes us more noble. But in truth, it only makes us more miserable. Try this. Imagine for one day that there is no script to follow. Imagine that every action you take is not being recorded in the book of destiny. How would you walk? How would you breathe? How would you look at the person beside you? You might find yourself moving more fluidly, speaking more gently, laughing more often, because without the weight of significance, you rediscover spontaneity. Life becomes a dance again, not a duty. And that, you see, is the secret. When you release the burden of seriousness, you don't lose meaning, you gain it. But it is a meaning born of freedom, not fear. It is the quiet significance that arises when you realize that being alive is already enough. The idea of acting as if nothing matters sounds, to many ears, like a dangerous form of apathy. But that is because we have mistaken letting go for giving up. There is an enormous difference between indifference and freedom, though the two can look alike from a distance. To give up is a kind of despair. It says, nothing matters, therefore I will withdraw. But to let go is entirely different. It says, nothing matters in the way I thought it did, and therefore I am free to love it all. This distinction is at the heart of every great spiritual tradition. When the Buddha spoke of detachment, he didn't mean coldness, he meant freedom from clinging. He meant the ability to hold life lightly, to dance with it, rather than strangling it in your arms.
And we are back. So I love the perspective of Alan Watts. And when he describes these things, it kind of, I realize, I don't know about you, but I was born to dance. So you kind of realize that we get sucked into this seriousness. This is where the false matrix leads us. And this is part of the challenge. This is part of the reason we came here, to go into the duality of the mind, to believe that we have very little control and that we have to cede our control to other people and other organizations to lead the way on our behalf, not realizing that all is mind. Everything in our reality is all under our control. We have created it. So I think that's really brilliant. And it's the liberation of realizing that life in the physical was never intended to be taken that seriously. So, and one of the things that really came to mind with this, the sage understands, when he talks about the sage understands this perspective. And it came back to me like one of the Lao Tzu quotes, and I have it over here right now. I'm going to just read it for you. He said, "The master's power is like this. He lets all things come and go effortlessly without desire. He never expects results. Thus he is never disappointed. He is never disappointed, thus his spirit never grows old. Tolerant like the sky, all-pervading like sunlight, firm like a mountain, supple like a tree in the wind. He has no destination in view and makes use of anything life happens to bring his way. He allows things to come and go. His heart is open as the sky." So that, again, is one of those Lao Tzu points that is made that I think is so powerful, and I think it really fits with how Alan Watts puts this across. So I just think this is important, understanding that this is the great pretending, as he called it, and it's the opportunity to live life lightly. I just think it's wonderful. So thank you very much to Alan Watts, who's not been on this planet now for probably about 50 years. But from the other side, his influence is still very strong. So Jole, what do you reckon?
Yes, Alan Watts is pretty amazing. And he was talking about some of the things that the Messiah was talking about, which we are now talking about. So these concepts of playfulness, of childlike energy, where it talks about the baby isn't born in seriousness, it's born in playfulness. And this playfulness is what is going to get us to unspeakable beauty. I understand, and we most understand that life bills are they can be serious, right? They can be serious. They don't have to be. But in the way in which we have been programmed, lack and scarcity, these things become serious, right? But there are ways around there in people such as Alan Watts and the Messiah, but financial gurus, there's people and there's information out there that can help us with dropping the seriousness. But first and foremost, we I want to say this in a loving way, self-love, opening our heart to ourselves. Like, I say ourselves because oftentimes we abandon, especially the feminine. We abandon who and what we are because we want to move something forward, help other people. And then all of a sudden, our lives, these people have gone, those things have happened, and we're sitting here in empty husk, like, who am I? What do I want to do? Where do I want to go? And now you're 40. So it's like, if you can take the time to love yourself, get to know through all of the labyrinthine seriousness of your life, take time out to dance with your children or with people, take time out to laugh, take breaks, go in nature. These things are what help you renovate your home or transform. And so the seriousness that we are all experiencing, especially now, because these warmongers know that seriousness leads to fear and fear leads to energy harvesting. It's time for us to all our inner back. And how do you do that? By not taking things so seriously, learning and having tools of detachment, as well as trusting yourself and your intuition.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing as well with Alan Watts. We've used that piece several times where he's spoken our about not feeding our energy into the conflict, by starving it of our energy.
The best way to end something is to let it starve. You see, conflict thrives on attention. The moment you engage, you feed it. And whatever you feed grows. But if you simply let it be, if you withdraw your energy, it withers away, like a fire deprived of air. The world is built on patterns, loops of cause and effect. Most people stay trapped within them, reacting endlessly, playing the same game over and over. But here's the secret. You don't have to play. Step back, and the game collapses. Step away, and new pathways unfold. Where attention goes, energy flows. So if you wish to move forward, let go. Do not return negativity. Do not wrestle with what seeks to pull you in. Instead, remove yourself entirely. Break the cycle, and life will adjust to your absence. This is where real power lies. Not in resistance, but in redirection. You are not bound to old loops. You are the creator of new ones.
Right.
Then the conflict ceases to exist. So if people around the planet as one come together and just, we basically can set our own boundaries in place and say we do not condone this, and at the
Yes.
same time we do not give it our energy. We focus on what we do want, and again it all comes back to what our motto is at Elevated Planet, right? Which is the secret of change is to focus all your energies on not on fighting the old, but on building the new.
Building the new. Exactly. It takes practice in this way. And so I just want to encourage everyone that we're in this 3D world, we're transmuting and transitioning. And for some of you, you don't have to write anymore. You can just think, or you can just command it to be so. But a practice of writing is very powerful. And for you dreamers out there, Sarah Landon spoke about, one of the ways that you can move out of what looks to be laziness or apathy is writing out your future. Writing out. See, John taught you talk about that feeling of emotion around it, the feeling of having it. It's real. When you're a dreamer, writing things out, even if you're not a dreamer, writing out your future, sitting in the energy of that, breathing, going out in nature, and also recording your dreams, listening to your intuition, all that's connecting with yourself. This is how we begin to drop that seriousness, expand that heart, and step into that authenticity, which allows our transformation to take place.
Mm, yeah. I mean, it's all about letting go of our desire to control, I think, is many, because we can't, change is constant, right? And I think that's the good thing that Alan Watts kind of explains is that, all this stuff is going on in the galaxy. We're on a planet which is traveling at 67,000 miles an hour around the sun, constantly moving, right? And everything is in a constant state of flux, and we want things to stay the same. It's
Right.
not the way it is. That's not life. Welcoming the change, and I think it comes back to that Lao
Yeah.
Tzu thing again. It kind of gives you the that's where the wisdom comes from.
Yeah. And change is the only constant, although it does to some of us invoke fear. It's okay, breathe through it and flow with the energy. Like the universe has a tendency to land you nicely in most cases. Sometimes we've seen it not happen, but for the most part, everything is going to be okay. So stay in alignment with your highest good through practice.
Yes, yes, indeed. Okay, that's really good. I think we should be stepping towards Yeshua now for the next
Yes,
part. Would you agree?
I agree.
Okay, so now we're going to do this again. For those who've already seen part one, you're going to see that repeated over the first 10 minutes. Then the second 7 minutes is all that part two that we promised you for this week. So bear with me a second. We're going to switch screens and we are going to go to Yeshua. I am Yeshua. I welcome you. You are dear to me. I wish to tell you of an old pain that lies dormant in your consciousness. Many of your daily emotional difficulties and the turmoil that is within you stem from a primal psychic pain that I call the pain of separation. There is a wound in you, an emptiness that you keep trying to fill. In most of you, this primal pain is often unconscious yet present in the background because you are not aware of the origin of this pain. You try to solve it by achieving outer goals, the inspiring job that suits you, the ultimate lover, or the right lifestyle. If these remain out of reach, you feel unhappy, unfulfilled, and doubt the meaning of your existence. But the real cause of your pain is not attaining your outer goal. It lies on a much deeper level, the primal pain and wound of separation. I want to speak about the cause of origin of this existential void. Emptiness, when used here, is another word for separation. You experienced your first separation at the beginning of your journey as a soul when you were separating from the whole or unity. Mind you, when I speak of the soul and how it began or was birthed in time, we are actually crossing the border of what can be understood by the human mind. So don't take my words too literally, for in this story I'm going to tell you, I use images to make tangible how you came into being. Imagine that in those distant beginnings there existed a primordial water, a vast sea surrounded by the expanse of heaven. The celestial space in which the water is located represents consciousness. Space itself is nothing, at least not in the material sense. It is pure consciousness. The water represents life, movement, dynamics, and feeling. There was a time when you were in that water. Imagine you are part of the water moving with the current. You might feel your boundaries slowly dissolving. You melt into the water. It feels soft and pleasantly cool. If you vividly imagine yourself absorbed in that primordial water, you may feel that you no longer have a body. Your body has dissolved and all you are now is a point of consciousness. You are one with the water and do not experience the limitations of having a body. You feel that the water surrounds you, and at the same time, you are the water. It is a strange sensation. Feel how, in that diffused self that you are, there arises a desire for air to breathe. This desire suddenly makes you focus. You identify with that need and your awareness becomes fixed on that one goal: air and breathing. You've never breathed before, but something inside you knows that you want to experience this, and this something pulls and pushes you to the surface of the water. Suddenly, you raise your head from the womb-like sea and take a breath. You are incarnated. You are in physical form. You are a body that breathes. Feel that first deep breath and become aware of your physicality. The longing for the breath of life has made you a corporal being. No longer are you absorbed in the water, in the oceanic unity. You are now separate, independent, and autonomous, and what has brought you into that separation is the fire of your desire. This desire that arises from the masculine aspect of your consciousness as a soul is a creative desire. It wants you to break free from the oneness because it has a deep and passionate desire to experience life. The longing for selfhood, incarnation, and separateness is a creative desire because only through the self, through subjective feeling, does the experience of life become your experience. This feeling is subjective. You feel things in your individual way, which is not possible within the safety of the primordial sea. Because of separation, a limited self and subjective consciousness arise, along with duality and diversity. There are many incarnated conscious sparks who have their own perspective and their own experience, and this diversity brings problems along with it, a sense of fragmentation, and a sense of being in opposition to other individual souls at times. In the primeval sea you were one, and in that sense safe and secure. When you were ushered out of this oceanic womb, it was painful and confusing, because for the first time you felt disconnected. When you became an individual and are separated from the whole, it is a leap of faith for the soul, an adventure that beckons and at the same time disconcerts. This jump into duality comes from the creative fire of the soul itself, but at the same time it produces deep confusion, the primal pain of being cast out of oneness. You can compare that metaphysical primal pain with what happens when a little baby exits the womb and is born on earth. It leaves its safe environment and experiences the difference between itself and the outer world. The passage from unity to separateness repeats itself with each incarnation. Every time the soul takes the leap into the earthly domain and breathes in duality and diversity, it leaves the oneness to take on the adventure and the pain of incarnation. However, there is another leap into separateness after birth as an individual soul, and that is where you differentiate into male or female. When you identify with either gender, you move even further away from the oneness, because in principle, the soul is not polarized. It is both male and female. As a soul, you have lived many lives, gained experience in various places in the universe, and resided in many dimensions of density. The material density of Earth is unlike any other place or dimension where you have incarnated. There are more ethereal dimensions where it is easier to stay connected with your soul, where there is no separation yet between male and female. There you are, an androgynous being, and experience this as very natural. If you like, you can recall the memory of what it used to be like to have a body that was not gendered, not polarized into either male or female form. Although this androgynous state of being is more natural than the polarized one, your soul desired to experience that polarity, and your creative fire pushed separation even deeper. Like the first step, the second step, the split between the male and the female was accomplished through a creative desire for fulfillment, and it was accompanied with an even deeper pain and loneliness in your soul. What you wanted to learn through this dual experience of separation is the ability to experience oneness and connection in a conscious way. In the primordial sea, you could not consciously experience unity because you were part of the sea, as an undifferentiated consciousness. Your state of being was diffuse, dormant, and half asleep. It lacked consciousness. The desire for air, for breathing, is actually the desire for consciousness. The leap to self-awareness and thus to separateness is prompted by the desire for more consciousness. Not only are you created at that moment of separation as an individual soul, but you immediately become a creator yourself, a creative soul. You are now an I, that gains experience and in time develops the ability to make choices and transform experiences into knowledge and wisdom. Out of this desire to expand consciousness, you connect with other conscious beings or souls, allowing for communication and interaction to occur. But there is no automatic sense of unity here, for these are all different subjective experiences, and each soul follows their own path. Unity must be brought about in a conscious way through the qualities of empathy, understanding, compassion, and forgiveness. Through birth and separation, unity initially becomes shattered, and in the course of a long and profound process of evolution will be restored again through the heart. What matters to me is that the two leaps of separation that you went through as a soul were not errors or mistakes, but a creative decision that comes from the masculine aspect of the soul. I want to make this clear with reference to the second leap of separation that led to the division into male and female, the separation of the sexes. The moment the soul chooses an earthly life, it chooses a sexual life, and it is born into either a female or male body. The jump into an earthly body is very intense for the soul, and is experienced as an enormous narrowing of consciousness. In the celestial realms, where the soul usually resides before an incarnation, there is a sense of freedom and fluidity, which is difficult to maintain in the terrestrial sphere. When you are just starting to incarnate on Earth, you have to get used to being in a body. For that reason, the soul will often want to practice being the same sex for a while. When the soul is first born as a male, it will want to repeat it to gain experience and understand how life works in a male body on Earth. Eventually, this soul will also want to experience female lives, to understand that perspective as well. Many, but not all souls tend to return repeatedly as either a woman or a man. They do this partly out of habit, partly out of a desire for specialization. Specialization is also a form of separation that allows you to experience one aspect of creation in all its nuances and depths. The one-sidedness of repeatedly incarnating as either male or female gives you the opportunity to experience separation and the pain of incompleteness. That seems paradoxical. Why would you seek out that pain? The deeper the soul experiences separation and gets lost in duality and disconnection, the greater the desire for unity, for a return to connection with the whole. When the pain of this desire becomes enveloped in consciousness, it is transformed into a creative energy which creates love. Love is recognizing yourself in the other, even if the other person comes to you in a completely different form, with a different gender or body, or with a completely distinct perspective. When you love, you connect with the other on a level that transcends the differences. You connect with the core of the other, the soul spark of consciousness that is unique and yet the same. You feel warmth, involvement, and compassion in your heart and transcend the differences by communicating, understanding, and forgiving. This evolution towards love is the ultimate goal of the leaps into separation. With regard to the love between man and woman, the separation of the sexes invites the exploration of romance, infatuation, and sexuality. The desire for unification between the sexes is a creative desire, and it becomes deeply joyful when it is a dance between souls who carry opposite polarities, but at the same time recognize the oneness in each other. Then the struggle ends, and you can enjoy the combination of unity and diversity, connecting and standing on your own. The split between male and female on the physical level creates the possibility of love between the sexes. It forces the soul from the deep desire for unification to communicate consciously and vulnerably with the other, understand each other, and get to know each other intimately. In this way, separation can lead to a deeper level of awareness and love than would have been possible had you incarnated on Earth as an androgynous being. This enrichment is not only there for yourself and the other person, but it is also a source of inspiration in a broader sense that nourishes art, literature, and music. The creative fire of the soul leads to the adventure of incarnating into a female or male body, and this separation can be exciting and joyful, but also leads to pain, isolation, and suffering. The second step of separation, the split between male and female, has undeniably brought great pain in your history. When there is too much identification with the masculine or feminine, the connection with your soul is lost, leaving space for division and alienation to arise between men and women. This has happened throughout human history. Many of you are wounded by this and still bring these wounds into your relationships, including your sexual ones. At times you become deeply disappointed in life on earth and have experienced the sharp pain of separation. Sometimes this leads to your desire to withdraw from the earthly plane. You yearn for the warm safety and the effortless oneness of the primordial sea of which I spoke earlier. I want to say something to those who yearn for this and experience resistance to earthly life. Remember that in addition to your desire for oneness, there has always been a desire to become self-aware and conscious. Think of your emergence from the water for that first breath. You wanted to live. You wanted to become aware. You wanted to become an individual and evolve. When the pain of being on earth takes hold of you and becomes too much, you are denying that creative fire within yourself. You want to go back to the primordial soup and dissolve into it. But your real journey is not to go backwards. Your true destination is before you, and the purpose is twofold: to experience connectedness and unity, and at the same time, awareness and self-realization, being your unique self and becoming aware of your own divinity. To put you in touch with both connectedness and separation, with both the feminine and masculine aspects of your soul, I ask you to go into your heart. Take a conscious breath into that space of your heart where love is born, and your pain is surrounded with gentleness and understanding. Ask yourself, what have I historically chosen to be as a soul? A strong identification with the masculine or a strong identification with the feminine? What has your soul become most accustomed to being? For a moment, note how that feels. Also, feel how a certain imbalance may have arisen if you have developed too much feminine or too much masculine energy. Now imagine meeting your inner beloved. This is the part of your soul that remained in the background when you identified with a particular gender. For example, when you become a woman in this incarnation, the male part of your soul stays behind in a sense that it becomes less manifest. Your feminine energy will be physically and emotionally more dominant. Your masculine energy remains, as it were, in heaven, in the realm of the soul. Connect now with the part of your soul that remained more in the background during your incarnations. See this part, which appears to you as a man or a woman, as a bridge to your wholeness as a soul. Look at him or her. Feel that the presence of your inner beloved is an anchor that stabilizes you. Feel it flowing through your body, your energy field, and let it ground and center you. If you lean more strongly towards feminine energy, the masculine energy of your inner beloved will balance you. Conversely, if you naturally lean more towards the masculine energy, feel more comfortable with it, then your soul's feminine energy will ground and calm you. In the current stage of your development as a soul, most of you are restoring the unity between the opposites within yourself. You will increasingly experience the feminine and masculine as poles that are both present in you. That is because you have grown in consciousness, put the separation into perspective, and have deeply connected to your soul. You are integrating your earthly experiences. At the end of your journey through separation, having gone through the first and the second leap of faith, you come to self-realization. You become a conscious I, and at the same time you are connected to everything and everyone around you through the heart. You accept the masculine and the feminine in yourself. You're being one, unique, autonomous, and you're being one, connected, transcending yourself, part of the whole. I love this. We chose to escape the unity of the primordial ocean in order to experience all this separation, to the duality, the diversity, the disconnection. I mean, how exciting is that? We could be just still floating around in that primordial ocean, but no, we chose that we wanted to experience the consciousness, the individuated consciousness as an androgynous being. And that it's interesting because When I go back to, again, the work of Dolores Cannon as a typical one, all those quantum healing hypnosis technique clients that she had over the decades experienced so many different kinds of lives. Some on this planet, absolutely, normal, I say normal, past life regressions. But then a lot of those past life regressions were in different star systems, in as different beings or different energy forms. The French guy who was the Ocean, and how blissful and everything that was, before he then went on to talk about his other lives as well, because that is what it's all about. Consciousness can exist in so many forms. It certainly does not need a physical body in order to exist. We know that, right? Our natural state is non-physical consciousness at a higher dimensional level. So what we've done is that we have gone through that enormous narrowing of consciousness to come here to planet Earth, the master school for the evolution of the soul. The veil of forgetfulness drops, and that, narrowing of consciousness means that for the 100% of consciousness that we have, only 2.5% of that can actually exist within a physical body, because that's all it can actually take. The other 97.5%, according to R.J. Spinner, is up there. It resides in our higher self. So unless we tap into our higher self, we are not accessing anything like our totality. We're just experiencing life in the density, and we're being programmed and conditioned, and we just don't know what's going on, right? But once we learn that we have a team who is here to help us, we have our team of guides, angels, masters, whatever, higher self, metaphysical family, those who've been before us and have already crossed over and are still with us every day. We should just need to keep having conversations with them, whichever way works for you, right? Meditation, prayer, but just keep those lines of communication open. And I love the fact that this masculine feminine split. So basically, for me here, as a masculine being, means that my higher self carries the more of the feminine side, because together we are whole, right? So that is the way of coming back to center, is by tapping into your higher self, and that rebalances it. It kind of makes you back into an androgynous being once you're kind of combined there, except that obviously I'm here to live this masculine life, to experience that. I don't know what the balance is. It'd be interesting to know actually how many times I have been on this planet as a masculine energy, how many times I've been here as a feminine energy. I don't know what that looks like, but it kind of makes sense that you specialize to a degree to fully experience the gamut of opportunities within that, the masculine in this case, but also to experience the feminine side of things as well. So, I mean, it's amazing when we start to think about how, incredible this journey is. And as for Yeshua, one of the things again, and I have to offer my gratitude to Silky from 2 weeks ago, who put a comment under the video to say that she had read the Jesus the Autobiography, which is a beautifully channeled piece of work. But what you learn from Yeshua is that there is so much distortion in religion and the Bible on his teachings, that even the things that were quoted from him were often taken out of context, or bits were missing, omitted, deliberately omitted. And the masculine feminine balance was something that, again, we've spoken about this a lot over these last few weeks in particular, was an absolute. He knew that the feminine was absolutely vital to work alongside the masculine, because you cannot achieve anything without that balance. Whereas obviously, again, the religionists have kind of built everything in favor of the masculine and diminished the feminine. But that was not the way it was for Yeshua, and it's not the way it was for many of the great teachers out there, or many of the legends that are out there as well. I mentioned before about King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, who regarded the women folk, the wives of all the knights, were absolutely on a par and were involved in every decision that was made. And there were numerous things like that. And again, Yeshua, in terms of the disciples, was a very even split between the men and the women. And he talks about that quite freely within his autobiography. So you start to understand the level of distortion. He also talks a lot about all is mind, which is the mentalism side of things, which goes back way before Jesus himself, the Hermetic principles. And that is something there that says that we are creating our reality. And once you take control of your mind, once you take control of your thoughts, then you are controlling your reality. And that is what Jesus actually did. And he talks about this a lot in his autobiography as well. He talks about the fact that he spent time in the ashrams of India. He then went on and studied in the monasteries in Tibet. And this was basically what he learned while he was out there with those Eastern traditions. And then he came back to teach back in his homeland. And it's a fascinating story, and it differs quite a lot to the biblical story, that's for sure. But it's an honest account, right? It's an honest first-hand account from Jesus himself. Now, I know that might be triggering to some people. It may be triggering to talk about the fact that religion distorted things, the fact that Bible is a very distorted document, and he says that quite openly on a lot of occasions. But at the same time, I totally get that. And religion's definitely not all a bad thing because it builds some wonderful community, right? That is a real power that right there. It can pull people together in heart-based consciousness. It's when it divides, as it has done over the centuries, that, and again, it's a control mechanism. We don't need anybody between us and the creator. We know that now, right? We don't need a middleman, which is where the church comes in. Anyway, a lot of manipulation there, and that's for sure. But definitely that book comes highly recommended. But yeah, those Hermetic principles is what Jesus was very steeped in as well. So you go back to Hermes Trismegistus, who was an incarnation of Thoth, the Atlantean, who is the architect of ascension, as we've talked about in previous months. It's fascinating. And the last thing I'll say, actually, before I hand over to Jole, again, it comes back to this thing of, again, we're programmed in a way that means that we get drawn towards density because it's thrown at us all the time. If you watch the media, for instance, or you listen to the media, or you watch TV, or you listen to the news, it's always negative, right? Almost always negative. And it's always trying to bring us into fear. And sometimes there are things that around which we will find ourselves descending into that fear. And one of the things I do like about the teachings of Abraham through Esther Hicks is always reach for a better thinking thought. So you can't go all the way from a dense thought down here, all the way up to here from, fear to love and light straight away. So all you do is you add incrementally and say, okay, well, what is a better thinking thought? Okay, well, here it is, right? Having got that, you can then bring another layer in and then another layer. And so incrementally, you're raising your frequency and you are taking yourself back into control and getting out of fear and back into those sort of more beautiful frequencies that we would always want for ourselves. Right, with that said, I would love to bring in Jole to get her opinion on this.
Yes, that was beautifully summed up, John. So I'm just going to give a little bit of information. You're like, well, how do I build on this or how do I get out of this energy? And one of the first things I want to say is that's why we do the opening up the portal from the heart to the center of the head so that we can stay in connection with how we feel and not in a sense of our feelings control us, but that emotion of joy, the emotion of being able to work out the duality between the masculine and feminine. How do we do that? Through love, through unconditional love. We bring the inner child in. How would you speak to that inner child? And sometimes the way we see people speak to others and we're like appalled, like, oh my gosh, how could you say that? Imagine how they speak to themselves. So this is a place where we can work to sort of renovate or redo, transform our way, our perception of looking at not only ourselves, those around us as well. It doesn't matter. Cats, animals, people, all of it deserves love and respect. And comes back to how we began to treat ourselves. And when we bring in that inner child and we remember that that is a part of us and that that's a part of other people as well, it allows us to easily become playful. And from a state of playfulness, we're able to build, we're able to be spontaneous, and we're able to transform. Why? Because with playfulness, we go quantum. And like Alan Watts said, we were sent here, or we're here to dance, not to march.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And again, I know we mentioned this last week, but again, I think it bears reinforcing. But again, the Ann Tucker thing, where she was channeling from, is it Sophia, Mother of Creation? But the idea that we have our inner child, and we give the inner child an identity, give the inner child a name, and the same true
Yes.
for our future self. So what we're doing is we're creating identities, which apparently provides permission for inner child to speak more to us and for future self to again come through to us at the same time as we're reaching out to them. So I kind of like that idea.
To bring that energy of the child in. And we see programming of a lot of times immature and childlike. We're not talking about that where we don't want to take responsibility. We want to take now even more responsibility. And what that means is we got to pack our joy with us when we do that, joy and happiness, and just spread that energy around. Why? Because it makes a difference, especially with what's going on in the world today. The fact that you are experiencing joy or you're seeing those news reports, you're opening your heart up. And what are you doing? You're sending unconditional love there. You're sending an energy that hopefully will transform. Well, it's known for transforming, but the action hopefully will follow the love that you're sending. And I'm
Yes.
saying hopefully in the sense that what I mean is for those of us that are unable to get a plane with resources and fly it over there, what we can do is we can at least send positive energy instead of being caught up in the judgment and the labeling of what is going on.
Yes. No, it's really important. And it's what I like about the fact, obviously these Pam Gregory Thursday meditations we've been doing as well, where we are sending over, the compassion, the kindness, the peace and everything like that. We're not focusing on the problem. We are focusing on the solutions. We're focusing on the world of unspeakable beauty that we
Yes.
want them to experience at the same time as us. So that is feeding that quantum energy, that quantum wave structure, raising the frequency, magnetizing new earth frequency towards us. And that's something that, when you think about that as a principle, as you say, Jole, that is part of who we are. That is how
Yes.
powerful we are. And that high frequency energy is so much more powerful than those low, dense energies of fear, of anger, of
Yes.
division that we're encouraged towards, but it's a choice. We don't
Right.
have we don't have to take the bait.
Right. Of separation and competition. And I'm so glad that we're seeing more people embracing one another in that way, uplifting one another in that way, because that's how you build that stairway to heaven, or,
Hmm.
I'm just using that as an analogy, but you can build those thoughts. Why? Because you have support, and not only internally, but now you're creating it in your environment.
Yes, yes, and I personally believe, and again, this is just me, that what we're seeing going on in the world now is again another example of to know what you do want, you've got to know what you don't want. We're
Yes.
being confronted by energies that represent what we don't want, which then gives
Right.
us the choice to actually move away from it and to build our world of unspeakable beauty, and that's where it comes from. That is why I
Yeah.
believe that by 2030 we're reaching a point where we have decided, right, either we're here for the higher consciousness, or we're going to kind of like say, okay, not yet, I'm here to hold the shadow more, that allows more people to achieve the light. So there's no judgment with any of this, but
Yes.
for my part, I'd like to head towards the light.
Yeah. And I'd also like for us to stop harming each other on the way there. You know, that's one of the things that, do what thou wilt with harm to no one, right? We have our guy Aleister Crowley with that to thank for that amongst other people. However, that's been given so much negativity. But that one thing, do what you will, be free, be liberated, be sovereign, but please allow for other people to have that same space, and don't hurt other people and don't hurt yourself, in through the journey towards liberation.
Yeah.
You got to know what that looks like. But you did say, John, you got to know what you don't want to know what you do. But
Yeah.
but once again, please don't harm people on the way.
Yeah. And I think once you get into the unity consciousness idea, it's impossible to hurt anybody else
Good.
because that's
Yes.
tantamount to punching yourself in the face. And that's not a
There you
very
go.
popular sport, right? So it might as well be an Olympic event at the moment, actually, the way it's
Yeah.
going. But I think that once you start to realize that bringing harm to another is bringing harm to yourself,
Yourself.
because,
Yes.
that's it right there. So is it meditation time?
Yes, it is. Let's do
Okay.
it.
Okay. So we're going to go back to Alan Watts now for a short little snippet there to share his wisdom so that we can bring in Jole's wisdom. So bear with me a second. Here we go.
The idea of acting as if nothing matters sounds, to many ears, like a dangerous form of apathy. But that is because we have mistaken letting go for giving up. There is an enormous difference between indifference and freedom, though the two can look alike from a distance. To give up is a kind of despair. It says, nothing matters, therefore I will withdraw. But to let go is entirely different. It says, nothing matters in the way I thought it did, and therefore I am free to love it all. This distinction is at the heart of every great spiritual tradition. When the Buddha spoke of detachment, he didn't mean coldness, he meant freedom from clinging. He meant the ability to hold life lightly, to dance with it, rather than strangling it in your arms.
Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Bring your awareness to the center of your chest. Connect with your soul. How do you do that, you may ask? You just say the word love. Just sit in love. Say, I'm sitting in love. I'm sitting in unconditional love, and I am connected to my soul. So as you breathe with the rhythm of your body, visualize a grounding cord 6 inches in diameter, being created by your first chakra, moving itself through the layers of Mother Earth, through her crust, you seeing the shale, the ocean, as you pierce the bottom of it and root yourself into the core of Mother Earth. And those beautiful golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles blanket the inside and the outside of your grounding cord as your aura positions itself to be 1.5 feet around you. Your higher self is standing at the power position, comfortable distance above your crown, and your astral body is snapped in to your physical body like a hand fits inside of a glove, bringing back all that information it gathered while you were sleeping. From the state where our soul architecture is locked in, we're going to visualize our crown opening like the lens of a camera, an 85% cosmic gold life force energy comes cascading down from the heavens, raining down on the higher self, and then entering your crown. And this gold light's job is to clean out the center of your head as well as smooth over those neurotransmitters and synapses of the past, of the loops, of the negative thoughts and the limiting beliefs, and to groove out, carve out more the ones that speak to purpose, alignment with the laws of the universe, positive, limitless, and quantum energy. And from this space, as this gold light rains down and cleans out the center of the head, it begins to carve out a portal to the center of the heart. And this time, this gold light is like a river. It just travels, rushing into the heart, just saturating it, pouring so much love that then begins to burst out of the heart, entering every blood cell, atom in the body. And while this is taking place, visualize the bottoms of your feet opening like the lens of a camera as you call in 15% earth energy of a color that resonates with you. Mother Earth loves you, and she's so supportive, as is the creator of all that is. So let this energy pool into the bottoms of your feet, beginning to travel up the side channels of your legs. And it moves past the knees and up the thighs into that first chakra where that beautiful energy, 85% cosmic gold that's in the heart bursting out, travels down to that first chakra and then begins to fill up your soul architecture and your physical body like water fills up a cup. And this essence moves through your bones, your veins, your ligaments, every atom and every cell of your body, bringing life, moving out disease, illness, bringing in wellness, giving you what's known as a spiritual quantum factory reset, taking you back to that primordial state of moving through, but this time with grace and loving ease. What's happening is you're becoming a new you, but this time the birth, you're going to remember. And you have the tools to get through it with loving ease. So from a heart-centered space and as earth energy, 15% of it of a color that resonates with you mixes in with that 85% cosmic gold, and that portal from the center of the head and the heart is open. From this space, you're going to see that new you. And this time it's not outside of you, it is your heart sending this message to your mind as that duality becomes unity. And the right and the left and the masculine and the feminine are in agreement as to who you are from this moment on. See yourself living the life of liberty, of sovereignty. As you see this earth energy and this cosmic life force energy, and your cells begin to create this in the center of your head and in your heart, where these visions become one, and the mind and the body and the higher self are in alignment. And on the macro, even with the laws of the universe. So you're individuated in alignment, as well as aligned with Mother Earth and the laws of the universe. That lack of clarity, that myopic sight that once was, has been resolved and dissolved. And now you see clearly who you are. You remember a what you are here to do, your purpose. So as you begin to reformulate and reconfigure your atoms to match and align with this vibration and frequency of you standing in and resonating with your purpose, that highest vibration, frequency of you. The center of the head and the heart are in alignment with one another. Work in tandem to help you put one foot in front of the other and reach that destination of unspeakable beauty. You no longer need to step into anything because you are it. So allow for earth energy, 85% cosmic gold, to mix in together. As a golden sun is created above your head, calling all of your energy back from all the spaces and the places where you may have left it. And as this golden sun becomes filled up, not only with what you left, but this new cosmic divine 85% also is carrying that energy of newness, of your purpose, of the new you, the reprogram, the recreation of your future, of your present and your future. So sit in the energy of that excellence, of that unspeakable beauty and that unconditional love that you are, and see that vision within you. Right there, the heart and the mind are creating it, and each cell and atom in your body is absorbing it as you align with that soul Solfeggio frequency of Mother Earth. Her heartbeat, your heartbeat, the cosmic heartbeat are all in rhythm with one another. As you breathe with the rhythm of your body and know that Mother Earth and the cosmic divine has your back. See your higher self reach up, grab that golden sun, bring it down through itself and into your crown as you absorb all your energy back, and it just magnetizes itself to each and every one of your atoms and your cells in your body as it moves out into your aura layer, removing and resolving any pictures, any patterns, any programs, anybody else's energy. Anything you're ready to let go of and release has been given to Mother Earth, turned into positive, creative life force energy for anyone to use as that golden essence continues down your spine, lighting up all of your bones. Health, wellness, going into all of your cells as this gold light then begins to travel down the grounding cord, chasing away those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles into the core of Mother Earth, bringing your grounding cord into the present moment, making it clean, clear, filled with gold light as you are rooted and grounded into the love and the reality that is Mother Earth. And this primordial ooze that you are helps her create your future. You determine with your vision, your perception, and your connection to Mother Earth and your communication with her and the divine. You are the answer, and you have been renewed and recreated in an image and the likeness of the divine life force, energy, with purpose and passion. So as you stay clear on the vision of who you are, And your heart projects that out into the universe, and all your atoms and cells align to take responsibility to manifest this. You are safe to live this life. You are safe to manifest divinity, abundance, polarity, and to remain in rhythm with the highest vibration that is you. So as you breathe with the rhythm of your body and the essence of Mother Earth and the divine sprouting out of your feet, hands, and crown chakras, filling up your aura layer, and this newness just moves through you, bringing nothing but wellness, unconditional love, and unspeakable beauty just oozing out throughout all your cells and your body. Lubricated, hydrated, soulful, and well. 360 degrees of light, love, and divinity. Take a deep breath in. On the exhale, close your feet like the lens of a camera and allow for that earth energy to recede back down just below the soles of your feet. You having access to her divine knowledge and wisdom at any time. Just ask and listen for the answer. And then watch for the synergy in your environment. Take another deep breath in. And on the exhale, close your hand chakras. They opened. Now close them. Visualize them closing. And the magic and the creativity pulsating through your arms and out into the world and coming back to you through the portal that is your heart, and moving back through your body and giving your ego in the center of your head its marching orders, its dancing orders. As you take another deep breath in, and on the exhale, gently close your crown and see divine, golden, cosmic life force energy ascend back up into the heavens just above your higher self, knowing that you have access to this wisdom and knowledge at any time. Listen to your intuition. Take another deep breath in. Allow for all of that energy to settle. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
I love that. I love the idea that we're giving our ego its dancing orders.
Yes, it's dancing orders.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's the perfect way of putting it, right? Because our ego consciousness is part of the reason we came here to go with the duality, and ego itself is not wrong. It's something that defends us, but at the same time, it's when the ego is allowed to run the show that is the problem, right? So as
Right.
long as our ego has its dancing orders, then the ego is welcome, right?
Right, because it's allowing for the inner child to come in. And once you allow the inner child to come in, what comes in? The whimsy and the quantum. So when you give your ego its dancing orders, what does it do? It relax. It feels safe. Marching orders, what are you marching to? Usually war.
Mm, it's true. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or a parade for attention. I don't know. But when you're dancing, you can just get into the vibe. You're all you are is vibes.
Yeah. We are elevated planet. We're born to dance.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
we've got to be like a child. We've got to be playful, and but at the same time, just love life. Life is a celebration, and that's the thing that it keeps
Yes.
coming back to. And you've got to view it as that, because despite the density that confronts us from time to time, we have a choice about how we handle
Yes.
that. And we can shift that energy around into higher frequencies. We can find our place of divine neutrality. not feed
Yes.
the energies of the density. And we, once again, are back in control of our own destiny.
Yes. And remember, please bring joy and don't let anybody take yours from you, right? And uh, it can look so different. It doesn't always have to look like silliness and weird. It can look just like a smile, a comfortable place to sit, to cry, a shoulder. It can look in so many different ways than just dancing. But when you bring joy into your life and the life of others, it creates a beautiful dance
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. As
with
you say, this,
quantum, with spirit, with Mother Earth, with fellow man. It's beautiful. And you know people like this who are always joyful and they're wonderful to be around. Be that person.
yeah, yeah. It's just sharing a smile, even, with strangers on the streets and stuff like that. It just, it's just general uplifting energy. It's nothing rocket science about, and that's the joy of this, I
Yes.
think. The
Yeah.
more
Keep
we
it
look into
simple.
this, keep it simple. Simple is kind of the answer. We're kind of almost programmed into complexity, which is
Yeah.
unnecessary.
Yeah, it is.
The answers are simple.
Because we, even here, we keep coming back to the same principles, even the big three, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. It's the same. Love your neighbor. Be a good person. Don't steal. Don't lie. There's the same principles across almost every religion. And detach. Don't judge. Don't label. So let's kind of keep this in our tool bags throughout the day and proceed with joy.
Yeah, yeah. That ability to avoid judgment is so important. Again, that's another thing that
Hard.
comes through in that book as well. Jesus' autobiography. So I recommend it. I'm not on commission, you know, but
Yeah.
it's something that it's a great listen on Audible, or you can or just get the physical book either way. But I totally recommend it because I think you start to understand and put things in perspective around our brother Yeshua and get to
Yeah.
understand the real Yeshua and his real journey and his real adventure in life. And it's amazing.
You know, one thing I'd like to add, John, and I'd like for people to think about, this might be kind of controversial, but give you a thought. If your child had died or a family member had died by knife or gun, I don't think we would be wearing that around our necks as honoring our dead. So I want people to think about what the cross means in terms of, are you honoring the death? And I get you're honoring it because you believe it freed you from sin and put you into grace. But that is a symbol of death and destruction, not of liberation.
You see, yeah, it's a good point. Because it's again, part of what Jesus talks about with this as well is the fact that the whole thing, and he knew from the age 30 that he was going to be crucified and that this was exactly the way it was supposed to play out, but it was to prove that life is everlasting. It wasn't about clearing all the
Yes.
sins of the world and things like that. It was nothing to do with that. It was to demonstrate that we go on forever as a consciousness. We
Yeah.
go on forever because he does come back, and he comes back, and it's a remarkable, and he details exactly how he comes back. He also talks about how he walks on water, and that was really quite interesting as well.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you
Yeah.
that just because a final thing just to share as a point of interest. The way that he did that was because he could bilocate and trilocate and all this kind of thing, as a being. That's had
Yeah.
the level to which he had risen. And there's people in the world today who can do that, right? This is not,
Yeah.
just one. But what they were actually seeing was his astral body suspended slightly above the water. So it wasn't his physical body, it was his astral body, and he was projecting it.
Walking
He
on
was he
water.
was in a cave meditating.
That's and that's absolutely believable, something like that of being able to project because we know about astral travel, remote viewing, all of that stuff. It's coming back to us. A lot of us are practicing these things. So they are there within our reach. It's just practice, practice. And John, it was so beautiful because even though I saw that as, I was taught that the cross is something different. You said, but it can signal everlasting life because even though that person died on the cross, they didn't die.
No.
and maybe that's what that cross is signifying, is the everlastingness of that event.
Yeah, yeah. Again, these things have been distorted and manipulated, for power control and all the rest of it. But yeah, we rework it. We know it is a symbol
Yes.
of everlasting life because that is the truth. We never die, right? Nobody ever dies. They're always there. I know I've got my family around me all the time that passed over
Yeah.
decades ago. Um, it's just beautiful, really. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Grief and everything is something we still go through because, once they're out of the physical, then you don't get to spend time
Yeah.
with them until you're back on the other side, right? So yeah, grief is the normal part of the process, but at the same time, I believe that the most fun day of my life is the day it ceases to exist as a life on the physical.
Right.
Yeah,
Because you
because
become one with.
yeah, and that's it. And while I'm excited for that, I don't want it anytime soon because I'm enjoying life too much. So
Right, right.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
life in the physical is a beautiful thing. Life on the other side is our true home, back
Yes.
in the non-physical realm. Anyway, so in wrap up, there will not be a newsletter this week because the reason we are in this format for this week is because I am traveling Sunday and Monday. So therefore, the newsletter will be no newsletter till next week. But we do thank you. And anybody who wants to join our newsletter distribution list generally anyway, just drop me an email to johndrew@elevatedplanet.life and you will go on the list for that and anything else that we send out. Again, we do our Thursday meditations, supporting Pam Gregory's global initiative to magnetize the new Earth consciousness. And that is,
Yes.
being well supported these days, and that's nice.
Yes, and please support that on Thursdays. It's for the world. It's not just it's for us individually, but with what's going on in our world, it would be really nice to take a little bit of time out of your day, 20, 30 minutes to just send love to these places and these
Yeah.
people.
And the other good thing with that is as well, the recording's there from Thursday every week, but you
Yes.
can go in any day. And I know people do because I see the numbers going up on a daily basis, which is really encouraging. And the 7 p.m. UK, which is the time that the actual meditation starts, is obviously not a time that works for everybody around the world. So it doesn't matter because, time is an illusion. Whenever you put your energy into that, you are joining together into the quantum wave
Yes.
structure as if we were all doing it simultaneously. And, we do have that squared thing, which means that, some weeks we've been, getting close to 200,000 once you get to that squared number in
Yeah,
terms of
it's
the
beautiful.
energetic value of that. Yeah, that's a big number, right? So, yeah, absolutely. Please do join us whenever you can make us. If you can make it live on the Thursday, fantastic. If not, just tune in when you can, or go and if you any day you want to do it, just tap into that. You can go straight to the meditation part, which you can listen to Pam guiding us through that meditation. It's only 15 minutes or so long, so it doesn't take long to do, but it does bring us all into alignment into that beautiful space of kindness, compassion, and peace, inner peace and love and joy. So, yeah.
Yes, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Yeah.
please, we would love it if you don't, if you please remember to like, share, and subscribe, because we could use a bump in, just viewership, and we really want to get this word out.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So that's it then for this week. And we will be back again next week as per normal with an actual
Yes,
live, as opposed to the premiere that this one is. And we will look forward to seeing you then, as well as on the Thursday meditation that we will be doing as well. So
yes.
thank you, everybody. And we will see you soon.